We're live. It's Guy and Dillon here with me as the co-host today for the Sunday Funday show for Week 7.
That it is. I'm glad to be back after listening to Alex last week. I'm ready to redeem myself because Alex did a pretty good job.
Alex was pretty good. I had a fun time having Gamer here with us. And this week we're going to do things a little bit different since we already have Kyle going into deep breakdowns. You know what? Dylan and I decided we would just have some conversations about things we want to talk about. And I think it's going to be good.
I love it. It's going to be like a PTI around the horn type, talking segments of just storylines we like. Because, we don't need 3 shows talking about every single game. And Kyle does a really good job in breaking it down objectively as best as he can. And, Robert does a really good job in talking drunkily. So, yeah. And just a little sneak peek, I have something in the works, and it is completely out of left field and new and interesting. So be ready for that, everybody.
Yeah, Dylan was actually telling me about it, so I kind of know I got the scoop of what it's going to be, and it sounds awesome. So let's go ahead and start out with the power rankings.
Yeah. All right, so these are my baby, and I'm the one that defends the algorithm while all y'all guys hate it. But it's all good. But we see that House of Priapism still on top. This is 3 weeks in a row, which is now the season high. And everybody was saying last week that they might have seen My Dad Owns a Dealership in the number 1 spot. But I think this week, with the poor showing from My Dad Owns a Dealership, especially in the running back area, showed that he was not in the 2nd spot. And I say he, I mean me. I was not worthy of that number 1 spot. And House of Priapism continues to just put up points.
I mean, his team's consistent.
What's that?
His team is just consistent.
Yeah, and I think the algorithm was correct. He's been number 1, and he dominates.
Yeah, his team is just really strong. I think he's had, 200-point games this year already? Just so strong.
And Chalupa Batman, we all think her team is just great. So she's now at the number 2 spot, where I think those 1 and 2, I think they're going to sit there for a while.
I don't know, man. If you look at Breaker of Chains and My Dad Owns a Dealership, you guys all have 175 points scored per game, and that's pretty huge. It's kind of like, I kind of view it as you have one tier, which is tier 1, which House Priapism is like the best team, and then you 3 are tied right there, all the same.
It's funny you bring that up, because if you look all the way on the right-hand side, the power rank score, it really shows how close some teams are.
Right.
So you look at, Breaker of Chains and My Dad Owns a Dealership, separated by less than 0.6 points. And then, 1 and 2 are only separated by maybe 0.35. So you get down to, the number 8 spot where Stumptavius and Joe Buck, they're dead tied. Yep. But look at the gap between 7 and 8. That is huge.
So big. And
right.
And this is kind of like what we thought. These were going to be the teams that were going to make the playoffs. So in our preseason show, this is how we thought it was going to look. I mean, not this exact order, but if you were going to ask me what teams are going to make the playoffs, I pretty sure I said these 5 teams that are on number 1 through 5 right now.
Absolutely, and I think your tier list is right on the money. I mean, that bottom tier is absolutely Stump, Joe, and Holden. I mean, that is wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at the drop-off in playoff odds, wow.
So big. And it surprises me that Montana Musculotors and Martial Law really are that close, so 73% and 67%. I gotta watch out. And apparently you have to watch out too. With your 80%.
I mean, and we're gonna get into this later in the show, but there was a reason I made a trade today. Because I don't think I'm gonna be sitting up here, pretty, or in the middle, I guess you could say, now that I'm number 4 and 3 and 3. I'm sitting at 500. I'm 1 game away from being under 500. So I can't rest on my laurels and see that overall record of 41 and 13 and think I'm good. Because that's not the case.
That's not the case at all. Let's go ahead and look into the waiver wires to at what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Pulling it up. All right, I'm good.
Surprises me with
I think you're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just talking to myself, thinking. So
Okay.
it starts right here when all these cuts happen, and the number one pickup of the waiver wire is Taylor Gabriel by Joe Buck Yourself. That surprises you?
I mean, he used to be a Falcon wide receiver. So, I mean, I guess he likes old and new Falcon wide receivers because he picked up Mohamed Sanu last week.
I know, right? How'd that work out for him? I think he did all right.
Yeah, he actually did really well. Did he start him, though?
Did Dean start the player that he picked up off of waiver wire? Let's take a look. I think he did.
He did.
He did. This is the
Okay.
good old
We don't have to
12
jump down his throat
points.
for this one.
Yeah, but I just can't help myself just looking at his running backs and just and he keeps on picking up wide receivers off the waiver wire. Just
Was
gets me every
there a
time.
running back he needed off the waivers? I mean, Ito Smith was out there, and I thought he was going to be the number one pickup. I had a waiver set up for him.
I'm pretty sure that my main man Alex picked up Ito.
Yeah, Ito was the pickup, especially because Devontae Freeman's out. But even if he wasn't out, I think he was the pickup.
Yeah, Ito was the second pickup right after Taylor Gabriel, and then we got O.J. Howard by Martian Law. It's a good
Who
tight
seems
end.
to be O.J. Howard seems to have been on every roster by now.
It's just those tight ends, man. It's so hard to have loyalty to them because they have a bad
I think
matchup.
it's flavor of the month for tight ends. I mean, Hooper has really been Kittle and Hooper are like the most consistent.
Or coming up, other than the big three.
Yeah. But I mean, I would drop Gronk down a peg. I mean, he might be done.
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe I'm just saying that because of the name.
Yeah. I mean, look
Some
at
of those
the
things.
output. I mean, was he worthy of that third round pick?
So far, no. And then after O.J. Howard, I went and I picked up Peyton Barber after having dropped him at last week. And then the moment I drop him, he finally has this 20-point game.
Oh, that's the rule of fantasy.
Yeah, of course. But I got him back. We'll see. Chalupa is switching some quarterbacks there, dropping Mariota, got Big Ben.
She's had Mariota on her bench all season long, so I think she's tired of watching him put up just absolute duds.
Oh, yeah,
And,
he's
I
been
mean,
bad.
For a team that good to get an even better backup quarterback, I mean, it's pretty good.
Yep. And there weren't many more moves after that. I picked up Jermaine Kearse.
Yeah, I only had Ito Smith. That was my one waiver wire pickup. There are a couple wide receivers out there right now that all seem to play for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and you just don't know which one it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody wants to pick a Dolphin wide receiver because it's the Dolphins.
Yeah. I mean, any of them could be the one, and then all of them could be terrible.
Yep. And then after that, there was a lot of different moves. You picked up Chris Godwin after our trade.
Yes.
And just a bunch of
Because
little moves.
after our trade, I had 7 running backs and only 5 wide receivers or 4 wide receivers or something like that, so I needed something.
All right. Talking about our trade, let's jump right into it.
Yeah. The big trade. This is how you trade, everybody. This is how you trade.
This is huge.
I mean, top 15 at each position. I mean, that's big.
1 for 1, a running back for a wide receiver. Let's start by looking at your team, and you tell me. Looking at your team right now, you tell me why you thought this was a good move for you.
Okay, so as you can see, my most volatile player that is kind of a cornerstone of my team was Odell Beckham. He ranged from having 30 points to 8 points. And it was one of those things where after seeing Jay Ajayi go down, and he was my running back 2, and I didn't have much behind him. My running backs have always been weak all season long, and as you guys know, in my drafts, I always go wide receiver heavy. And because Jay Ajayi goes down, I had to like put together a running back core for last week with like toothpicks and bubble gum and like sunflower seeds, and that earned me 13 total points.
Solid, solid.
Yeah, so to me, I'm like, okay, I have Thielen, the most consistent number one wide receiver in the game.
He's
I got
balling
Allen
out.
Robinson, who can put up points. I got Josh Gordon, who seems to be moving up the depth chart, and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have been saying great things about him all week. I even
Got
have
9 targets last week, I think.
yeah, and I have T.Y. Hilton, who finally lost the questionable status. So I had room to move. And I had a trade in the works, and I'm going to let you guys in on something. I had a trade in the works with Holden, and it took him forever to get back to me. And he never did, actually, and this is why I pulled the trigger with you. I had a trade, and listen to this. It's a big one. I was giving him George Kittle, Allen Robinson, Buck Allen, and Bilal Powell. All 4 just for Dalvin Cook. What do you think? What would you do?
You were giving him Allen Robinson, George Kittle, Buck Allen,
Buck Allen and Bilal Powell.
and Bilal Powell for for
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook. That's interesting because, you know, I think those. Well, maybe not Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is coming around and showing a lot, and George Kittle, it's kind of hard to get his consistent production. So yeah, man, you're giving up 2 potentials every week starters,
Yes.
and then you got a little bit of depth with Bilal Powell.
And here's the thing. Buck Allen has put up points. He gets a little use around the goal line. Bilal Powell is the Jets dude. And so the way I was thinking about it, you can get more points from those 4 guys combined every single week than Dalvin Cook. And that's what Holden needs, is 4 dudes to put up points.
He needs something. I mean, and that's the thing too, is like we're talking about Dalvin Cook as if he's a superstar, but he's been injured and he hasn't done anything this year. So like that's a giant risk on your part to give up a lot of players for one player who
That is how
maybe
desperate I was for a running back.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that's big.
And the reason I even wanted to pull the trigger on that trade with Holden was because, listen, I'm a big Dalvin Cook fan, so that I'm already biased, but
FSU and Vikings.
Exactly. I mean, when my favorite FSU player of all time, mind you, like, and anybody who has ever watched me watch FSU games, Dalvin Cook is my favorite player of all time for my school. And he went to my favorite football team. I mean, I had to get his jersey. It was incredible. But and it's my family's team, and it's just like anyway. But here's the thing: bias aside, Dalvin Cook for me has been dealing with a hamstring injury since junior year of college. Now, he could, and here's the big if, and this is why I pulled the trigger. He could come back healthy and fresh-legged for the last 6 weeks of the season of fantasy,
Which would be
that's
big.
huge.
Be very big.
Because I think that's why the Vikings aren't playing him. They didn't play him against the Cardinals because we were going to beat him anyway. Keep him healthy when we need him.
I had a similar trade going with Holden in the same spirit, but I was the one giving up one player, and he was going to give up all his running back farms. I was gonna do giving up Mike Evans, and I would get in return LaShawn McCoy and Dalvin Cook.
That does not make him better. He needs players because he doesn't have anybody. So that's why I thought giving him 4 dudes that can solidify his lineup was the right way to go.
Right, but this is the other thing too. He also he doesn't have a cornerstone at wide receiver, a guy he can truly trust to put up points.
Right. No, that's true.
So I decided to back off of that trade because I guess he fell asleep. I had sent him the offer and he wasn't getting back to me or talking to me at all, so I just canceled it. And then I was looking at, we had a conversation earlier where we wanted to do this Odell Beckham trade last week. With Christian McCaffrey, but I couldn't pull the trigger on Christian McCaffrey. He's the best player on my team right now. I just can't get rid of him.
Right.
So I came back this week. I thought about it some more, and I'm like, you know what? That was a good trade. I can't do McCaffrey, but I can do David Johnson.
And we look at it, and now I have Alvin Kamara and David Johnson. And granted, I
So
do
solid.
lose Odell Beckham, who's a beast. I mean, top 10 in his position. But I feel like my depth at wide receiver can be okay enough without him. But my running back was so bad that I needed something. So I was willing to make that risk, and we'll see if it pays off.
I think it will. Let's jump over to my team.
Yeah.
So on the opposite side of the spectrum, on my team, I have a bunch of like these mediocre running backs on my squad. So I got, well, other than Christian McCaffrey, I think Christian McCaffrey is great, and I don't think he's going to end at number 10. I actually think he's going to score more as the season goes on. But other than him, I have Peyton Barber, I've got Lamar Miller, and I have Marlon Mack, who's been injured all year, and he's just now starting to get some playing time.
And everywhere I read, Marlon Mack is supposed to be just a fantasy scorer here soon, especially because Andrew Luck's playing.
Right, and I mean, if you watch him's tape, you just watch him play. He's really good. He runs hard. Shifty. He doesn't have stone hands, if he's using the pass game, he can still catch it. I mean, he's not like an amazing receiver, but he can still catch if needed. So I really like him. I think he's going to be big. So I was willing to give up, David Johnson, which is a consistent 19 to 20 points scorer every week, pretty much. He's right there, either 16 points to 23 points. He's right there every week. I was
right, and I'm hoping they figure out that they can use him even more.
And that's the thing. That's the risk I'm taking, because if the head coach gets his head out of his ass, Mike McCarthy, right? That's who's coaching the Cardinals right now.
I believe so. I couldn't even draw a blank.
If he starts using the man in some screen games, starts pitching him,
line him up in the slot like McCaffrey.
Line him up in the slot, do some halfback tosses. Right now they're just running him up the middle, and he's getting 3 yards per carry. It's just like a blatant misuse of one of the most talented running backs in the league. So I'm taking the gamble, and so are you in this case, that okay, I don't think that Mike McCarthy is going to learn. I mean, I think he's been a head coach for a really long time. He's set in his ways, and he's not going to do what he doesn't want to do. He's just one of those coaches. And you, on the other hand, you think they'll probably start using him like he should be used.
Right, and even if they don't, at least he's going to get me solid points that my other dudes can't.
Correct. and that's the thing. He's averaging close to 20 points per game by being improperly used. That's how talented he is. But my wide receivers, I was really solid with my wide receivers when Fitzpatrick was the quarterback of the Bucs, because he throws the ball to the wide receivers with Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. Now that Jameis Winston is in there, he can't hit a deep ball to save his life. He likes to throw those medium routes, and he likes to look at the tight end position. So I'm not feeling too confident with my wide receivers at the moment, and I needed to do something. My gamble was Odell Beckham. Right now he's a 12th wide receiver because he's very inconsistent. Look at this. He's got a 20-point game, a 9-point game. 20-point game, 14-point game. And then
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Blows up for 35. Next week, a 9-point game.
Right.
You just don't know what you're going to get with him.
And I think because of his temper tantrum and the fact that he's just too skilled not to be used, I think this is a turning point. And this is one of the reservations I had I was debating not trading him, because I truly believe after this escapade, and Saquon Barkley now demanding so much attention because he's a freak.
He is an absolute freak. But that's the thing, too. That also works in the other direction. They can just use Saquon Barkley more because he is a freak.
Yeah. I mean, if I was the Giants, though, I would say, listen, we got a Cadillac in Saquon Barkley. And we are right now on a dirt road track because our team is awful. So let's put it away or not use it a lot until we have a team to win. Because I don't want to use my Cadillac running back into the ground on a terrible season.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would like chill out, man. Like you don't need to run him into the dirt right now.
But this is going to be an interesting trade, definitely to look back on in a couple of weeks and see what's going to go happen. I honestly think both teams got stronger. I think I can make do with my other running backs, just like you can make do with your other wide receivers.
Right. Yes.
And we both help each other in a position of need. You needed a running back. I needed a solid wide receiver. I think we both got what we needed.
Yep. I'm happy.
Um,
Now check back with me in like 6 weeks and we'll see.
so talking about running backs and wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about them in fantasy football in our league, and how they measure up now?
So this was an interesting topic. When we decided to talk about this, I was pretty excited because I look at the leaders. If you go to the main page and click leaders, and you click like each position, running back and wide receiver, the top spot in each is around 340 to 350 points for scored. Like running back is House of Priapism scoring 345.
Yeah.
For wide receivers, it's me scoring 352. So that tells me at the top of the game, they're pretty equal, which is really exciting for me as a commissioner, for all of us playing in this league, that the two skill positions that fantasy football is built around are producing around the same. So that allows us to play with strategy a little bit. Do you go all in on running back and, have that carry? Or do you go all in on wide receiver? You have the choice. You don't have to have dominant running backs because that's what this league is built around like it usual. By
Right.
us adding this third wide receiver position, it makes them more important.
And that was what I was going off in the beginning of the year, because we do give and I love this rule, by the way, the 0.25 points per carry to the running backs. I came in with the decision, okay, I want to have 3 running backs that I can start every week, because running backs are safe. They have a safe floor most of the time. If you have stud running backs, they have a floor. Like just what we're talking about, David Johnson. He's not blowing up, but he's consistent around that 20 points every week, and that's what's awesome about running backs. Wide receivers, not so much. That sometimes they blow up, sometimes they do nothing.
Right. So, if you get 20 carries and 70 yards, that's a pretty terrible day for a workhorse running back, but that's at least a solid floor.
Yeah. And they also catch passes sometimes. Some do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's no secret if you guys look at my strategy every single year I play, because I only play in PPR leagues, I go pass catching running backs. Period.
Yeah.
Like I rarely go with the Frank Gores. I rarely go with, the LeGarrette Blunts, if you will.
Right.
So, I'm excited to see how I shape up in this running back to wide receiver tandem conversation that we're having, because I am the top wide receiver scoring, and by losing Odell, I have to expect I'll go down. And I can't be mad about that. I lost a top 12 wide receiver. But my running back score is 5th. So that will go up. So I'm trying to balance it out a little bit.
Right.
I'd be happy with, top 3 in both, not number 1 in wide receiver.
Oh man, it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. So, what do you think is the weakest position in the league right now?
Just going off hard data, it has to be. Let's take out kicker, but it has to be tight end. It's just so volatile. And however, the top 2 teams with tight end scoring are the best 2 teams in the league.
That is
Maybe
true.
that's interesting.
That maybe there's something to that. But then again, House of Priapism is also the best running back team, and Chalupa Batman is the second best running back team.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to that.
True. Yeah.
Maybe it is the running backs. But it's just interesting that they do have both the best running backs and the best tight ends in the league.
I will say, I was just kind of curious, so I was looking around at each position at the biggest discrepancy from first place to last place. And it should be no shock the biggest discrepancy is in the running back and wide receiver, but we're talking a difference of 120 points.
Yeah,
That's a
huge.
lot of points.
I'm surprised that Holden even has 140 points from his wide receivers.
Yeah. I looked at, if you go to the standings, it's absurd. 4 teams already are in the thousands for points scored, and Holden hasn't reached 600. So there's a reason he's 0 and the world on the overall wins, 0 and 54.
Oh my lord, Holden.
He averages 98 points.
Will that be Holden's new name?
Oh, what? Oh, in the world?
No. Maybe. Oh, we could just do his overall record as his new team name next year.
My God. Can we name him Owen? Like Owen Wilson, but Owen, so he's Owen whatever.
Oh, yeah, nice.
0 4, 0 6. Oh my God. Anyway. What's next? I can't talk about Holden anymore.
I think the weakest position in the league is kicker. And I know you said take out the kickers, but the kicker is in the game. And
I didn't say take out the kicker. I like the kicker.
No, I said when we were talking about taking you said taking out the kicker as taking him out of the conversation.
Gotcha.
But you look at how many points we're getting from kickers; it's so pathetic, and there's like almost no discrepancy. Which brings us to the next segment. Crazy league ideas, crazy rules.
I'm excited for this segment.
Want to talk about crazy rules that we can implement next year to make our league better.
Yeah. And especially because we all know, if we're all staying in this league, that there is voting coming up at the end of the season, so be ready.
I'm excited. I got a presentation ready.
All I know is y'all mother effers better vote on auction.
Oh, maybe.
There better be an auction draft next year.
I'll let you wine and dine me. So my crazy league idea, guys, brace yourselves, okay? Hang on to your chairs for a little bit. I know that tradition has you set on 1 point for extra point for kickers, okay? I know that's how fantasy football has been. It has always been 1 point for extra point. I get it, okay? But there's a problem with that. You can't really predict kickers. It's just wild all over the place. They can score a lot or they can score a little. It doesn't really feel impactful. It sucks to root for a kicker. Think about it. Like fantasy football, you want to watch teams score points. And now you're rooting for this football team to get in the red zone and not score so your kicker can kick a field goal and score some points.
It puts us in the position of being Aaron Rodgers, where you're like, man, I'm trying so hard because I'm the only player on this team, and then you're watching Mason Crosby shit the bed in a dome.
So here, all right, brace yourselves. This is what I want. 3 points for an extra point, 3 points for a field goal. Keep them the same. A kick is a kick.
Lord.
A kick is a kick. And I'm going to pull up right here. I know you can't see it, but I had played with this. I'm going to pull up for our viewers here. I had played with this, and there is some serious distancing between each kicker. Greg Zarline has been hurt, so I'm going to take him out. Who do you think is the number one kicker with these rules set, Dillon?
With this rule set, who's the kicker for the Chiefs?
Harrison Butker.
That's who I pick.
You're right.
Woohoo!
Averaging
I'm already going to be good at this league.
averaging 18.5 points per game.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy then becomes take the kicker who is on the highest powered offense.
Yep, take kickers in high-powered offense. You have kickers on the Rams, kicker on the Chiefs, kicker on New England. So let's go here. Harrison Butker, averaging 18.5 points per game. Tell me an average offense.
Like middle of the road, let's go with the Packers?
Want to see Mason,
like
Crosby?
Yeah.
Mason Crosby averages 14 points per game.
Okay.
You have 4.5 points difference between the two kickers. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let's go back to Sunday Funday.
Who's the number one kicker? Is it Justin Tucker?
Nope. Jason Myers for the New York Jets.
Wow.
Averaging 10.3 points per game.
Is it because Sam Darnold can't get him close to the end zone?
Yep. How dumb is it to have to root for that? for a team to not score.
See, my idea is that you want kickers with legs, guys who are going to kick those 53-yarders.
Oh, of course, yeah, you definitely want those, 100%. But you reward that in a different manner. Like you do other things, but there has to be some sort of things that you got to study. If there's a position in the league that you want in the league, there has to be something you study and something predictable. And a week by week, even if you want to do a waiver wire pickup and a quick plug in, oh, this game is going to be a high over under. Let me get one of the kickers in this game.
Right.
Like, it has to be something that you can actively want to do instead of it just being there and being something you just throw in. Okay, so 10.3 points per game for Jason Meyer. Let's go look at Mason Crosby because he's also middle of the league. 8.8 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even 2 points difference between the two of them.
So you're saying there is no difference between quality kickers, high-powered offense kickers, low-powered offense kickers. They're all the same in our current status quo of the league.
Correct. And our current status quo of the league is just the traditional way fantasy football players have done kickers forever.
Yes.
Right? It's just the way. It's just there's a reason why people started doing PPRs because standard was something that was done when there was no technology before there was like any serious game theory gone into fantasy football, and people started going, okay, well this is okay, but we need to shake things up and make things more balanced, and that's when PPR started getting thrown in there. But kickers and quarterbacks never got touched. This is my proposed rule for kicker to keep up with into the new generation of fantasy football.
Okay.
I
mean, what's funny is you would have if somebody said that at the day of the voting, I probably would say F you. But by bringing it up now with data, it's something that I can think about and something that does sound interesting. So I think the show idea that you're doing right now with the talking points, where you can bring up rules like this and talk about the data behind it, it actually might help out our voting at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I want, and if other people have rules or ideas, I would love to have you on the show and talk to you about it. Like that,
Exactly.
That'd be awesome to do.
Yes.
What's your crazy idea, Dillon?
All right, my crazy idea is we're adding a position. My position I would love to add for my crazy idea is the coach. I would love to see the coach represented in the league, but if you guys are familiar with DraftKings, if you're familiar with other league structures of scoring, there's a lot of milestone points that people mess with. A running back that hits 100 yards gets an added 5 points, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What if, instead of those milestone points and putting them in our league, which are not in right now in the status quo, we bring them in the form of coaches that you basically have to use the coach based on their strength of defense and strength of offense. They get plus points for those milestone points and negative points for the milestone points that go against them. All yardage based and penalty based. So how many roughing the passers? Minus points. How many holdings? Minus points. And so a win gets you an added point, or added X amount of points. I haven't messed with anything in terms of what those numbers actually are, but it's just the idea of it just sounds cool to me, because now you can even look at penalties, total offense, total defenses, instead of just rooting for one player. Now you pick a coach and you root for that team that week.
I like it until you said you can bring me around to this idea, okay? But not at the milestone marker. I am not.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna lose you when I said milestone, because you hate that.
I'm not a fan of milestone. If you wanted to do an incremental, like positive and negative points for each yard, just like just regular fantasy football, where 0.1 points per yard, or
right.
negative 0.1 points per yard against on defense, yada yada. If you were to find a way that's balanced, then you can definitely talk into me. But
right.
if my offense goes for 388 points and I get 5 points for reaching for 100, and I don't get and I get 0 points for getting 388, I'm going to be pissed. I'm not about that.
No, I get it. It's just my crazy idea would be to somehow implement coaches and be rewarded for offensive yards, defensive yards, penalties, and the overall win and loss. That's my idea.
Yeah, and I could definitely get around it if we could think up of a nice balanced way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. That's the crazy league ideas for the week. Let's go back to our league, and I know we hate talking about this man, but we just have to every week.
What's that?
Holden.
Holden.
Will he win a game this week?
You know what? I feel like an ESPN talking head that during the Browns 0-100 season had to talk about him. Like, I feel like I have to talk about Holden even though he doesn't deserve it.
0-54 overall win record.
So the question is, will he beat someone? And I'm not even saying beating someone when he's matched up against them. I'm saying, will he not ever score higher than one person in a given week?
That's unbelievable. How is he still at 0 wins in the overall record?
Like, no matter who he gets matched up against, would have lost every single game.
Who's he playing against this week? He's playing against Joe Buck.
It's the toilet bowl.
The toilet bowl, that's right. Does his team have some good matchups? I mean, he's got Jared Goff going against San Francisco. LaShawn McCoy might be back. I don't know. Do you think he wins the toilet bowl?
Oh, this is going to be good. Does he win the toilet bowl?
Because if he's going to win a game, it should be this game, right? Like, this is the
Right,
one where
yeah,
he's got the best chances.
This is the stars aligning. But here's the thing. I'm looking at Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett, both on bye weeks. That means he has to plug in Pierre Garçon, and that's it. He doesn't even have another wide receiver.
I think he was hoping for my Mike Evans.
So, I guess it's TBA?
Oh, you know what? I don't think he's going to win this week, and I honestly think he's not even going to break 110 points again. Like, it's just not.
Okay, so the new question is, because we know he's not going to win, is he going to beat his average of 98.16?
Nope. Because I'm rooting for it.
His own average.
I'm going to root for it. I'm going to be watching intently at the score screen on Sunday like, come on, Holden. Stay low, buddy.
Oh, my God. Holden, dude, you got to make a trade, man. You have to go nuts.
He's been trying. It's not for a lack of trying. I know he's hitting everybody up.
But he didn't respond to you. He fell asleep. And then I send him this, crazy 4-for-1 trade. It's like, at least work with us. At least, say, listen, I don't like the trade, but this could happen. Listen, I don't like the trade, but this could happen. But the problem, Holden, is that when we send trades, it's a yes or a no. There's no give and take. There's no, okay, what worked about it? What do you like? What do you not like? Let's fucking talk about it.
Yeah, well, open your damn mouth. And not to put a beer in it.
No, I don't like this trade. Fuck you. Okay, cool. Good talk, Holden. Go be 0-100.
Oh, man. All right, let's, we are officially through the halfway point of the league, of the season.
Yeah, we are now done with week 6.
We just finished our divisional rounds, right? Everyone played their divisional opponents. We're going into the non-divisional games now.
Everybody should have 4 games played in their division. So I'm looking at Chalupa Batman 4-0, Breaker, Chains of Montana 2-2, etc., etc.,
Yep.
etc.
Everyone's got their 4 games of divisional going now. We're going into the purely non-divisional games right now. When do we start going back into the divisional games again?
I mean, I'm just looking at my schedule. We do 2 more weeks of non-division, and then 3 division, and then we split the last 2 games. We'll have 1 non-division, 1 division to end the season.
Okay.
Now, personally, I'm excited to not play division games right now because, I mean, we can all agree Horrorface is the stronger division. So this is where you got to win some games. I have outscored every team in the Marvin division. Even though I'm 3-3, I have more points scored than that entire division, even Chalupa Batman.
Yep.
So going into these next 2 weeks where we're playing, I'm playing Marvin, I got to come out 5-3. I have to be 5-3 going into week 9.
Wow, let's break this down. So, right now, in the Marvin division, we got Chalupa Batman as the only 5-1 team in the entire league. And I think it's safe to say, maybe Kyle and the Breaker of Chains can come back and take that spot. But it's going to be pretty hard. Chalupa Batman's got the 4-0 divisional record, which is the tiebreaker.
Which gives her that comfort going into the last part of the season that the worst she can do is split with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to get swept in division by anybody.
No. And but at 4-0 in the division, that's pretty good. Breaker of Chains is going to have a hard time taking that bye week. And Montana Musculators is also at 4-2. I just don't believe that he has the roster strength to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the roster strength, and he peaked in week 5 when he got up to 6th place in roster strength, but he dropped back down to 8th this week.
Right. I don't know. He might be better than what I'm giving him credit for. He is scoring 150 points per game. That can come up. But I don't know. I just think he's definitely the weakest 4-2 team. Out of the 4-2 teams, he's definitely the weakest one.
Yeah, I'm looking. I mean, he hasn't really gotten hit by the injury bug. I'm looking at his team. I mean, if Julio Jones starts scoring touchdowns, the one problem I do see with that, though, is he's going to have this kind of seesaw effect with his wide receivers. He's going to either have Julio Jones going off or Calvin Ridley going off. I don't see them both going off.
Yeah, he's got the same problem
every
that I
given
do.
week.
With the Sean Jackson and Mike Evans, it's 2 wide receivers from the same team.
I mean, however, for you and him, if there was any team to have to be in a shootout every single week, it's the Falcons and the Buccaneers.
That's true.
So, I mean, I could see them both scoring 2 touchdowns each because they have to, but it's only those 2 teams.
Yeah,
only those 2 teams could do that.
They definitely have the worst secondaries in the NFL, and
yep,
it's going to kill us. Okay, so the Marvin, we got Chalupa Batman clearly in front, the Breaker Chains right behind him, Montana Musculators is coming up, and then we got Stumtavius Roboclick and Joe Buck Yourself, Bo at the bottom, both poor scoring teams. And look at that, Stumtavius scored less points, or barely more points than Joe Buck Yourself.
Yeah, and with losing Devontae Freeman, that doesn't help. And you start to look at, the power rankings history, the roster strength. Stump's taking a hit. He's falling down to last place in roster strength.
He only put up 120 points against me with no reason to only put up 120 points. No bye weeks. He had good matchups. That's worrisome.
My question for you is very simple. Do you see Whoreface putting in 4 teams into the playoffs, which would mean Montana or Breaker of Chains misses the playoffs? One of those 2 teams has to. If 4 from Whoreface go.
How many teams are making the playoffs again?
6.
It's 6. For some reason, I thought it was only going to be 5.
No, 6.
I can definitely see Whoreface putting in 4. I can definitely see. Yeah, I think Musculators can miss, even though he at the moment is 4-2.
Right.
If anyone's going to miss the playoffs that has a good record now in the first half of the season, I think it's definitely going to be Montana Musculators.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Chalupa, I don't see Breaker, I don't see House of Prepism, and hopefully our trades prevent, from going downhill there. So it's like Montana's got to fight for his life, even though you're 4-2. You're still 2-2 division. You're still only scoring 918 points. So you got to work.
Got to do something.
Have to work. Yep.
And then back to the Whoreface division. We got me at the top. I got pretty lucky on the divisional games. I started off really strong, and I got, I'm only in first place just because of that divisional ranking. My points scored is at 964. It's pretty bad.
That pug is going crazy.
Oh, he is. Carrie, could you get the pug, please? And so we got me at the top with House of Priapism in second place. with 1,096 points scored. He's definitely
Yeah.
the leader in points scored so far. He, I can easily see him overtaking me by the end of the year and winning the Horface division for the bye. Unless, of course, the trade that we just did really pays off.
Yeah, I mean, House of Priapism is easily my favorite team in the league right now. So, I mean, you and I have to go against him one more time, and that's not very fun to
It's
think
not.
about.
It's not fun at all. This division is definitely just. Oh, and this is the
Yeah.
problem. Is we might not take 4 just because
We're going to kill each other and
we're going to kill
cannibalize
each other.
ourselves.
Yeah, we're cannibalizing our own record, with the exception of Holden, which is just a free win.
Yeah, it's another free win for everybody, so that's nice.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, we might put in 4 people into just because we get 2 free wins every season instead of just 1.
I mean, ugh. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what if we all just like cannibalize each other, give each other 1 win, 1 loss? Meanwhile, Chalupa, Breaker, Montana just continue to win games. We're gonna kind of screw ourselves, maybe.
Maybe. And then right behind us is you got My Dad Owns a Dealership and Martian Law. You obviously have the 100 points over Martian Law for the season so far. The team has definitely been stronger.
I mean, my overall record keeps me sane, but it does feel bad to be 500. I mean, if you go back to the power rankings, and I'm looking at it right now, it's like I'm 41-13. I could have only lost to 13 teams, and I somehow got matched up 3 times against them.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. But I'm glad that we're keeping track of that this year, because now you can really see the strength of teams, rather than just be like, man, I'm 500. He must suck.
Right. So let's look at these non-divisional games, see if any important ones are coming in. You got just this week. You have yourself versus Montana Muskeloaders. You can bring him to 4-3, but put yourself at 4-3. Knock him down a peg if you win this game.
Yep.
A lot of big games this week. House of Priapism and Breaker Chains, both 4-2, going up against each other. And then myself at Chalupa Bat.
I'm excited to see how Alvin Kamara gets utilized now that Mark Ingram's back into the fold. And I truly believe the last time he was kind of being kind of given a break because he's been carrying the team.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think you have anything to worry about there.
Yeah.
And then Joe Buck and H-Bug, the Toilet Bowl. Martial Law versus RoboClick. I know they have a big old rivalry going against each other.
Yeah.
After that, let's see, other big games. Montana versus House of Priapism. Like, these are some big games coming up in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, I know we have one 5-1 team, and I know we have an 0-6 team, but for real, I feel like this season is very competitive.
It is very competitive indeed.
So it's good to see. Whoever wins this season, I just want to say, you earned it. Mm-hmm. This season's tough.
Very tough.
I'm excited to see who gets the plaque on the trophy.
So to close this off, what is your predictions going to be for the division and the playoff?
So who's going to win the division? Who's going to win the play or get into the playoffs?
Yep.
Okay. So I think Chalupa Batman goes into the victory, wins the Marvin division, I should say, gets the bye week for the first week, and I think she's going to go. Maybe she's going to lose 3 games. I think she loses 3 games by the end of the season. For the Whoreface division, I think House of Priapism wins it all. So the 2 bye weeks are going to go to Chalupa and House of Priapism.
I can see that.
But I see the 6 teams going in. House of Priapism, Captain McGee, My Dad Owns a Dealership, and then we have on the other side Chalupa, Breaker, Montana. I think we're going to go 3-3, and I think Martian Law is that bubble boy that we were talking about in the early preseason talks, and he just misses the playoffs. I think we're going to go 3-3.
I think Martial Law will get a win against Octavius, and he'll get a win against the Muskeloaders. He'll get himself up with a better record than they, and he will come in. But as far as division winners, I do think I'm going to surprise everybody here. You ready?
Yeah.
I think Breaker Chains wins the Marvin.
That would be epic.
I just think
What?
he's very active. He's always constantly looking for ways to improve his team. I think his score's going up, and he's just going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, he's scoring more points than Chalupa, so we'll see if those turn into wins.
Yeah, I think it will. I think Breaker Chains will win the Marvin. I do think House of Priapism will pass me, win the Whoreface, but myself and you will both safely get into the playoffs. And I think Montana's going to get knocked out, and we'll have Martial Law in the playoff as well.
Oh, okay. I would love to put up a banner in my sports room if I win a division.
just make a custom one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Custom
a pretty good
banners.
idea. That's a pretty good idea. So we were just talking about league rivalries.
Yes.
Who do you think is rivals each other?
So this is a cool thing I like to think about just because we've been going on for this is our third season and I hope to go on for as many seasons as we can, but naturally rivalries will form. And just because we've been going at it for the whole, existence of SFL, I truly believe with how competitive we've been, I think Captain McGee, my dad owns a dealership, and Martian Law have this like Hydra kind of three-headed monster thing happening. We're always eating each other. We're always beating each other.
And we're always talking shit to each other.
Yeah, and so I think us three have that natural rivalry, and it's always exciting. To be honest, it's like when I see us matched up against each other, me and you or me and Martian, it's like, okay, it's a real week.
It's go time.
It's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
Nothing against anybody else, but it's just cool because we've seen it all. We're into it. We've been playing fantasy forever, and we know each other's game style. We know that we're all going to bring it, and it's cool because you both won the league. Martian won.
Yep.
You won, and I'm sitting here waiting for my turn.
What place did you finish on those 2 years?
The first season I finished in second. I was runner-up, and then last season I missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that was that was a rough season where you drafted like all wide receivers last season, and that was pretty rough.
And David Johnson went out.
And David Johnson went off week 1. Yeah, that was a rough season for you.
What's cool is like I went to the first season and I went 12-2, and then I went like 5-10 or something like that next season. But it's cool, like over the time we could add up all of our records to see how we are in the history of the SFL.
It's pretty cool, and I just love Flea Flicker. I think it's by far the best fantasy football program I have ever used.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so much freedom. There's so much history tracking. You can even go back and click on a player's history to see when they were drafted, traded in season 1.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And of course, I got to give props to the Toilet Bowl. Joe Buck versus Holden.
That's definitely a rivalry right there.
Definitely a rivalry.
But it's not the traditional
the
rivalry.
shitter?
Yeah, who's going to be the worst team in the league? Joe Buck or Holden? Always.
You guys gotta break that, because all of us right now believe that's a rivalry.
And I also kind of feel a rivalry with Kyle, just because like whenever there's a conversation going on in group chat, Kyle is like always the complete opposite of me.
You know what? I think you're right. I think you and Kyle have a natural rivalry in just fantasy. Not even team playing. Just you guys have a rivalry in fantasy football.
Just everything. Just literally just everything.
Absolutely.
Kyle hates me, but it's all right.
And I'm pretty sure Gary and Betancourt have a rivalry.
Oh yeah, friendly rivalry.
Yeah.
Same with Subtavius and Martial
to each
Law.
other.
Subtavius and Martial Law are also always hitting each other up.
Yep.
So it's fun, and I'm really happy to see this league keep on going, and we'll see how.
By the way,
grow.
I low key think Chalupa has a rivalry with everybody, but we all don't want to admit it. But I think she hates us all.
She's the silent but deadly, man.
She's the silent killer. You know what's funny is right before we started the podcast, she told me, "You guys better not talk shit." And then as she was leaving, she goes, "Because you don't got shit to say." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Disgusting. That was some shit talk. That's some
serious
high level shit talk.
All right, let's.
You ain't got shit to say.
We've been pushing 55 minutes here. Let's see if we can finish off in the hour mark right now. Let's do a quick brief of week 6. Anything that surprised you last week?
Anything that surprised me? I'm surprised Dean didn't do better. I thought Dean, would have taken a class by now to get better coaching. but he's still at 75%.
That doesn't surprise
So,
me. That does not
so
surprise
that's my
me.
one thing that I took away from last week.
I'm really surprised by the two teams hitting 200 points last week. Wow.
Yeah, and Chalupa scoring
A
191
190.
just right there.
That's so gross. I'm surprised at how close and how competitive the Martial Law Montana Muskeloaders game was. Separated by 2 points. Like, man, that was a great game with a really close finish.
Yeah.
And that is going to have big playoff implications. We were just talking about it, Montana Muskeloaders or Martial Law. Which one of these
Yeah.
guys is going to make the playoffs? Which one of them is going to be the bubble boy? Because that's what it's
No,
looking
you're right.
like. And that's a big win for Montana right there. That might end up being a tiebreaker, pushing them into the playoffs over Martial Law.
You know what? You're right. I didn't really think about that, but that's absolutely true.
It's big, big game. And then on the other side, it was Breaker Chains beating you, solidifying, how I said how he's a growing, powerful team right now. I did not expect 200 points out of him, but he's getting up
Yeah.
there.
And I will say I'm glad he scored 200 because I had a bad week, but to see him score 200, it's just like I wasn't gonna beat that. So
Right.
good on him. And I just gotta realize that my running backs were shit, and I made a trade because of it, and I learned. And yeah, good on Breaker Chains. That was a great showing, and he is a strong ass team.
Let's go on ahead and look forward into this next week and what implications it can have. So we have the Toilet Bowl, super famous Toilet Bowl. Joe Buck
Yeah, Dean
versus
wins
H
that
Bug.
one.
Dean wins. Holden wins. Never, ever
Yeah,
gonna get a
no.
W. You have a chance to knock Montana down a peg. Both of you go 4-3.
Yeah, but my prediction is that I do that. I just like my matchups. I like Dillon coming back, and David Johnson I think does well. Because Denver, everybody thinks they have a really strong defense, but they are awful against the run this year.
Yep, I don't know what's going on that team. They are
Yeah,
really,
I don't either.
really struggling. I do think that you do pull off the W here, just like Joe Buck pulls off the W. We got House of Prism versus the Breaker of Chains. Their game of
What
the
a
week.
game! What a game!
Game of the week. They're both projected over 177 to 168 points. Like those are. Flea Flicker doesn't give high projections like
No.
that all the time,
Not at all.
and they earned it, man. I think it's going to be really close, but House of Prism is just too good. Those running backs are just too good.
Here's the thing. I think House of Priapism wins solely because those matchups are so much more juicy than the matchups over in Breaker Chains.
And then Martian Law versus Temptavious RoboClick.
Yeah. Stump needs this win. You can't go 2-5. I think if you want to save the season, you got to figure out how to win this game.
Stump doesn't have Rogers, doesn't have Antonio Brown.
Joe Flacco, though, I think in the 1 week he goes against New Orleans is going to be the saver to not have Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe. On the other side,
But like I said, picking up Ito Smith and having Joe Flacco on a dream matchup on the 1 week you need him, I think this is going to be a lot closer than we think.
it could be. It could be a lot closer. You're right. It's not like Martial Law has the greatest matchups either, but I think being down your best wide receiver and being down your franchise quarterback is going to hurt him a lot, and I am going to give
Yeah.
it to Martial Law.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's closer than we think. I think Martial Law wins by less than 10 points, though.
And then I'm just going to close it off here with my match versus Chalupa Batman. I love my matchups right now compared to Chalupa Batman's. I do think she has the better team, but I think it's just like I'm gonna get.
No, I
I'm
think
gonna
you're
get lucky
right.
here.
She's up against a couple buzzsaws right now.
Deshaun Watson versus Jacksonville. Devontae Adams is on bye week.
Michael Crabtree's got that juicy matchup, though, so I wouldn't count the Devontae going out too badly.
Yeah, true.
But you're right. I mean, I think her matchups are too strong, and it's if there's any week that she goes down, it's this one. So I think you both are going to be 5-2 after this week.
And I'll agree with that. And that covers it. We are
Cool. Yeah, great show.
amazing show. I think I really like this new segment. You guys let us know if you actually stuck through it all and what you think about this. this new style of the Sunday Funday show. I think we're gonna keep on going on like this. Thank you
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
guys.
it's different than everybody else, and I'm glad you came up with this really cool segment idea, this talking point show.
Hey, don't give me all the credit. You were definitely you definitely did it too.
But I will say before I go, before he kicks me off the show, be ready for a crazy little, very short, and when I mean very short, it's going to be very short, little video coming from your boy right here. Something completely different, something off the wall. Be ready for that.
I'm super excited for it. Catch you guys next week. Have a good one.